Hello everyone, my name is Becca and welcome to Yellcat Studios. In this video, I'm going to be making a Tinkerbell cosplay. For this, I'm not actually going to be recreating any of her outfits. I'm going to instead make a sort of formal gown, something that I imagine she would wear to, say, a spring ball. This is the design for the cosplay. So I thrifted a base dress that I need to modify a little bit, and I'm going to be making this leaf wrap skirt. So this is the dress I'm going to be using to build my cosplay on. First thing I need to do is make some adjustments so it fits a little bit better. So I will be taking it in, there's a seam here, so I'm going to take it in the front a little bit, probably about an inch. And then on both sides I'm going to be adding a small panel, just because this is very open when I'm wearing it, and if I take in the front it's going to pull the fabric a little bit more. So I'm going to add a panel just so it's not so open. This is why you check where you've pinned before you sew it. So I have taken in the front a little bit, and now I gotta work on the panels that I want to add. So I'm going to be using this seam up here to be where I attach the panel at the top, and I'm going to attach it at the back over here. This is about 3 inches up from the waist. So this is the fabric I'm going to be using for the panels and the wrap skirt. So I'm just going to cut a chunk of this off so that I can figure out what size I need, cut 2 of those out, hem them, and then get them sewn on. I realize I didn't explain this process very well, so what I did while wearing the dress was measure how long the top edge of the fabric panel needed to be, which for me was 9 inches. Then I pinned the fabric to the top seam and to the back where I marked it, and made sure it was 9 inches on the top edge. I pinned it all in place, and I hand sewed the panel to the back so the seam wouldn't show. Then machine sewed it to the side and trimmed and hemmed the excess. So this is what the panel looks like on the dress. It actually worked out quite well. So now I have to do that on the other side, but because there's a zipper on this side, I need to make sure that the panel is kind of removable, so I gotta figure that out. Okay, so like I said, I had to do the side a little bit different because of the zipper. So I sewed it to the back here and sewed along this edge right up until the zipper. And for the rest of it, I just used a few snaps to hold it in place. Okay, so I'm going to be working on the wrap skirt now that I'm going to wear over top of the dress. And I'm 100% winging this, so we're going to figure this out together. Okay, so I have a chunk of my fabric cut off, and I need to make some big leaf shapes out of it. So I think I've figured out kind of the size that I want. So from the top of my leaf, i.e. the waist, to the end of the leaf, I think I want it to be about 18 inches for the two on the sides and 20 inches for the one in the middle. And then for the length at the top of the leaf, the two smaller ones are going to be about 12 inches, and the one in the middle, the bigger one, will be about 16. So, with this chunk of fabric, I might be able to make my two smaller leaves. There's already cat hair all over my fabric. So I'm going to make these a little bit bigger to give myself wiggle room and also room to hem them. So I'm going to start by drawing out my leaf shapes and then cut them out. 12 inches seems really small. Okay, so 12 inches seems really small. So I'm gonna make it quite a bit bigger. I'm gonna cut it at 20 inches and see how I like that. Okay, so I measured the pieces that I just cut kind of around the dress to see how they fit that size. They were too big. So I did cut them down. So now the tops measure 14 inches, so that gives me plenty of seam allowance. And I did keep the length, so they're still about 22 inches in length. So I will make the third one. The top I'm going to cut to about 18 inches and the same length as these two. And then I will hem all of the edges and move on to the next step. Okay, so I have all of my skirt pieces cut and hemmed. So to hem them, because the edges are slightly curved, what I did was first sew a basting stitch, which is a really wide stitch, just without folding the fabric, just along where I need the hem to be. And then you fold over the fabric using your stitch as a guide and iron it. And then once it's ironed, you fold it over one more time, and I did hit it with the iron again just to give me the basic crease on where my hem was going to be, and then sewed it down. And then once the hem was sewn, I took the basting stitch out, which you just do by grabbing one of the threads and just pulling it out, and then the other one comes out right away. If your fabric doesn't really fray, you don't have to fold it over twice, but mine frays a lot, so I did have to fold it over twice. It was very time consuming, but the hems look really nice doing it this way. Really? Excuse me, I need those. So my next step is attaching these pieces to my ribbon to make the wrap skirt. So I'm just gonna roughly pin these in place on my ribbon and then measure around my waist to see if that works. And if it does, I'm just gonna top stitch the pieces to the ribbon. So technically the next step for the wrap skirt would be to put a hole in the waist so that you could thread one of your ends through to wrap it around. But because of how I sewed the ribbon on, it would break my stitch. And I don't want to put a hole through this fabric because it frays a lot. So I'm just going to leave it and just wrap it on the outside, like so. But yes, typically you'd want to put like a hole so that it could go through and it wouldn't like bunch up over top of each other. So my final step for the skirt is going to be to paint the like leaf veins on it, and I'm going to do that later tonight. Okay, so my final step for this cosplay is to make it so that I can attach the wings on the inside of this dress. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take some of my extra ribbon, sew it on the inside of the dress in a couple spots. So I'm gonna sew a piece down here at the waist and up here. And then, because the wings are very top heavy, I'm going to take a couple of these little hooks, sew them on the inside of the back, up where I want the wings to stay. Hook the wings onto the dress. I do need to bend the hooks out a little bit because they're too thin for the wire. And I'm just going to hand sew all of that so that you don't see any of the stitching on the outside. And that's pretty much it for making this cosplay. I like the big move when I walk. Alright, so that's it. That's done. I'm so happy with how these wings turned out because they're just the wire. They're sometimes a little hard to get on camera, but I think they look so pretty. I was a little worried because they do move a lot when I walk or move, but I think they're holding up pretty well. They're not going anywhere. And I'm very happy with the dress too. I think it looks very pretty. I think the leaves turned out really nice. And I'm glad I used paint and I didn't sew the lines, because I think they would have bunched up a lot if I'd used my sewing machine. But yeah, that's it. I hope you enjoyed. I had a lot of fun wearing this and I will definitely wear it again. I don't want to take them off. Again, you know it's a good cosplay when you don't want to take it off. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you liked the video, give it a like and a comment. Subscribe for more cosplay content along with other things. I hope you have a good day, afternoon, or evening, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!